GM, welcome to what's going to be another great episode of DevNTell. So if you didn't know, DevNTell is a 30-minute podcast held every week, allowing founders, hackers, and anyone in between the opportunity to showcase their product. And today I'm ecstatic to welcome Eda, who you may also know as Eda Tweets online, who's a developer advocate at Hyperlane. If you didn't know, Hyperlane is a permissionless interoperability protocol for cross-chain communication. So if you stick around for today's episode, you'll see Eda give us an overview of Hyperlane, why it exists, and how you can start building with it today. All right, let's get into it. GM, welcome to the show, Eda. Excited to have you on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat today with you. It's been like a long time in the making with us, so happy that we got it together.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. We had to reschedule, I believe, once, but yeah, happy we are finally at the time of your appearance here. I guess before we get into all the good stuff you have planned for us with Hyperlane, do you want to give a brief introduction about yourself in case folks aren't familiar?
Yeah, for sure. That would be great. So hi everyone. My name is Eda, and I'm a developer advocate at Hyperlane. So I've been part of Hyperlane for, I believe it's almost 4 months now. And today I'm going to give like an introduction about what we're doing, how we're like working on cross-chain messaging, and hopefully we'll go over a demo as well. A bit about my background is I was part of the Web3 crypto space for almost like 4 years now. I think I'm entering my 4th year. And I've been mostly in the Ethereum space now, exploring other ecosystems as well. And yeah, I come from a software engineering background and ended up as like a developer advocate after a few years. But yeah, that's like a very unorganized short intro about myself.
Yeah, no, all good. I guess I'm always curious to hear like what brought you into the Web3 field. Was there a particular thing that inspired you, or something that you saw or perhaps disliked in the Web2 space that brought you into here?
Yeah, for sure. So mostly it was COVID. So like very honestly, it wasn't like I did really enjoy like working in the Web2 space. I was part of networking and it was actually like very fun for me. And we were working with IoT networks. And then when COVID hit, it it just became I had a lot of time to spend at home. So that's when like crypto was kind of becoming popular in Turkey as well. I had just moved back to Turkey from the Netherlands, so I just had like a lot of time at home. And when you see like crypto all the time on like advertisements and stuff, I was like, oh, like let me like try trading on an exchange. Perhaps not the best decision because it was like when all the prices were super high. But then yeah, like just by experimenting, I was like, oh, okay, like why is there like so many different coins? Like how does this stuff actually work? And since I had so much time, I just ended up starting a blog. And then from there, like just met a lot of people through Twitter, got way like interested in the space that my old job was like very less interesting for me. So then I kind of ended up like accepting a job. Actually was through Twitter as well. And yeah, I think it was like a really good decision. I'm like very happy that I made the switch. But most people ask me like what brought you in. It was mostly like that I had a lot of time and time to research this. And yeah, that's kind of how I ended up and continuing here.
Awesome. And yeah, folks, definitely if you're not following Eda on X, she makes really great content. So definitely give her a follow. And one other thing, just before we get into the content, you mentioned you were a software engineer beforehand. Just curious, like, what brought you over to the developer advocate side? Like, was it did it more align with the type of things that you'd like to create, or?
Yeah, so I didn't really know that there was like a developer advocate job as well. Like I kind of like stumbled upon it when I was like a software developer and when I started to create a blog. I kind of learned that, oh, okay, like you can create like a lot of technical content and do like more like yeah, work on the content side and kind of like I was also like my last job was technical sales too. I'd like transitioned to technical sales and it felt like really similar to what you do in technical sales with just a different name and a different audience. So it was very interesting. Like I didn't really realize that there was such a role, but then I kind of realized it really matches what I was doing on my free time as well. And then since I was already doing that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. There's like a job for this as well. I might as well kind of explore it. I do think developer advocate is like a very, like you say it, but it sometimes it can mean a lot of things, but it can also mean nothing. So it's kind of like a weird role because like it's not very well defined. And that was kind of my issue with it. Like in technical sales, it's super well defined. Like you either sell or you don't sell. It's like very like you have like proper metrics of success, which I'm still trying to understand what it is for developer advocacy. Um, but yeah, I feel like there's my main motivation was that I feel like there's so many good tech being made, but most people don't really want to talk about it or like, explain it to people who have no knowledge of it because it might sound a little like beginner or it might sound like not like they can work on other stuff at the same time as well. And for me, I really enjoy that process, like being the translator in between. I feel like computer science was very hard for me and I was like, I wish people like explained it simply. So I just like to like break down stuff and like especially when it comes to technical stuff that I'm interested in for a general audience to understand.
Beautiful. Love to hear it. And this is a wonderful segue into the content that you have prepared for us. Looking forward to you breaking down Hyperlane. I will bring your slides on screen. Cool. Yeah, you are good to go.
Awesome, perfect. Let's get going. We do have I do have quite a few, like not too many slides, but like a nice agenda prepared. And if there are any questions, we can like try and see what there are, but hopefully leave them to the end so then we can cover all the content. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to drop them any time on the side. So let's get to it. I know we have like 22 minutes and it's always like racing against time. But okay, so to start off, I do want to give like a quick introduction of Hyperlane, and then we are going to go to a live demo depending on the time we have. But just to get it started, basically the main idea is that now that we have a lot of L layer ones, a lot of rollups, like we realized when we started with blockchains, it's like, oh, like this is very cool. But then the more people used it, the more like less scalable it became, and like the more alternative solutions there needs to like emerge. So that's when we saw like new L1s come up, and then also like being congestion in like the L1s themselves. That's when we see like layer two scaling solutions come up, rollups, and now with rollup as a services, it's just so easy to like create your own rollup that the world is like the blockchain ecosystem went from very homogeneous to very fragmented really fast. Um, so that's clearly where we see like interoperability between rollups or like the different networks is sparse and highly fragmented. And that's exactly where these cross-chain messaging or bridging protocols come in. So I do want to move through these quickly, but you can find like a lot of introduction content also like on the different materials we publish at Hyperlane. And the main idea is that now that we have this very fragmented ecosystem, how can we make communication between the different ecosystems easier? Because when you isolate, like when you have when you want to make an app that interacts with all of them, or like it just limits your like innovation framework as like a developer or app developer. And that's the main issue we come to solve. And that's exactly where permissionless cross-chain interoperability comes in, because it is like mostly permissionless to deploy on these different networks. Not all of them, of course, but like when you look at the open source ecosystem, you can deploy an app on Ethereum, you can go ahead and deploy an app on like on Base. And then when you do that, you want like, for example, Base and Zora to communicate with each other. So you don't really want to go and like, oh, like I want to get permission so that these two talk to each other, but you kind of want it to be in a way where you as a developer or an app owner can kind of set it up yourself. And that's exactly where Hyperlane comes in. My slides don't have so many words. So Hyperlane is an interoperability, is a cross-chain messaging protocol. And the way I kind of describe it is that Hyperlane is permissionless, so anyone can connect any chain and deploy like Hyperlane themselves onto it and create like the different routes. One key innovation is that it uses modular security. So you might be like, like I want to deploy an app, like I want to deploy Hyperlane to my chain, but I have different security requirements. That's where modular security is key, because you can configure the security requirements based on your needs, and you don't have to go with like a certain set. Especially like I like to like double touch on this because it is like one of the main questions that come up, like how can I upgrade my security when like new features come up or like when new advancements come up. That's exactly how we kind of see it, is that it kind of works as like, I like to describe it as like Lego blocks. So you can go ahead and like you can change the Legos inside and you can upgrade your security based on like your needs. And yeah, like we have like different frameworks, different like tools set up so that it simplifies moving assets between chains. And we're really going to get to that. So hopefully I'll be able to show a live demo. And then depending on the time, you'll be like, oh, like she was able to set up in 5 minutes or not, but it is like that time. Okay, cool. And I know we have a technical audience, so I'm not going to just leave it by that, but I do kind of want to explain the components. Basically, the way Hyperlane works is that we have different interfaces on different chains, and we call them the mailbox contracts. So mailbox contracts are deployed on the chains which you want to connect to. And once you connect your mailbox contracts, then you kind of have the agents in between, which are the relayers and the validators, which kind of carry the message to the other chains, like your destination chain that you want to send a message to. And then where the security like modules, these Lego building blocks comes in, is the ISMs, we call them, interchain security modules. And these are what kind of allow you to like change or upgrade as you go ahead. Yeah, so that's kind of the main process. Basically, Hyperlane gives you an interface to connect to different chains with customizable security, which you can change as like new features come out, or like as your requirements change, or depending on your requirements, basically. And okay, well, we can move on to warp routes. So I don't want to use too many different like new term introductions. However, I do feel like the mailbox was like very helpful for me to understand. So I like to mention that, as well as the ISM. And now the warp routes. Warp routes are basically like Hyperlane's, they use Hyperlane's cross-chain messaging protocol for asset for like token bridging. So it's kind of our implementation of token bridging made easy for anyone to deploy themselves. So what it does is like you can set like a route between like what we will do, for example, is set a route between like base and optimism. And basically what happens is, because like you have mailbox contracts on both these chains, and then we basically like create like a warp route which allows you to bridge certain tokens. And the warp routes, like they have different token types, so you can say like I want to transfer like native tokens or collateral tokens or synthetic tokens, depending on like what token you want to transfer. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be transferring like a token that's already on base, but that's not on the other on the other like destination chain. So it'll be like a collateral to synthetic warp route. Am I going too fast? I tend to like talk fast when I'm like presenting, so I try to calm myself down, but hopefully like I'm not like rushing.
No, you're doing great. You're
um,
doing great.
Okay, awesome. This is actually also like my first presentation on Hyperlane, which is live. So that's kind of cool to do as well. But okay, so just to wrap up, kind of what we're talking about is Hyperlane is a cross-chain messaging protocol which uses modular security. And the way it works is that we have different core components, basically the interface, which we call the mailbox, this customizable security modules, which is the ISM, and then agents in between, and these are the relayer and the validators. And the way you can kind of use all these out of the box is by warp routes when you want to transfer tokens. So kind of our take on token bridging is using warp routes, and there are different type of warp routes depending on what you kind of need. Okay, I have one more slide before the demo. This kind of illustrates like a warp route flow. I think we can kind of move it because we will like be doing like a demo in just a bit, and I want to leave time for questions. And okay, so we can go to the demo. And I do have like everything recorded, so if anyone wants to follow along, there is the QR code.
And we'll also drop the
And
link
then
in the YouTube description after the fact as well. So
perfect. And then there is like a small GitHub repo, which basically walks you through the steps, which I'll be doing today. In case it fails, you can try it. It's tried, it's tested, it works. But live demos do tend to like have Murphy's Law or like something like that, which don't work. But you can definitely follow over there. So let me kind of move to it, and we'll see like how long it takes me, and just kind of talk through it. And feel free to like ask any questions on the way as well, like Narp for yourself, or like if there are any questions from the audience, we can totally address them. Okay, is this like big enough? Okay, cool. Is this big enough or?
yeah, I can make it up. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I am going to open this repo. I want to kind of show it over here, show it off. So the repo which we're following is a developer workshop where we're building like a warp route. Oops, sorry. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using Hyperlane's cross-chain messaging infrastructure, and we're going to be using warp routes to build a bridge for a certain ERC20 token on Base to move to Optimism. So we have our token on Base. I did like we can actually what I thought we could do is we can just open I will just open over here. So I was just like opening over here, and I thought it would be cool to do like the virtuals protocol token. The guide itself follows the like another token, but it's kind of like you can choose whatever token you want to follow. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be like moving the virtuals token, and we're going to be minting creating a contract and minting a synthetic version on another chain. And for this guide, we'll just use Optimism. You can use any chain you want. You can use the test nets. I hope it won't cost me too much to deploy, so I thought it would be cool to like deploy to the networks themselves. And the only thing I did prior is I have the Hyperlane CLI. Now, the Hyperlane CLI is a tool which you can use easily to create warp routes and to make deployments to chains. If you do want to follow along, you do need to like install the Hyperlane CLI. It just makes it very easy to set up warp routes or like do different like configurations with Hyperlane. And then, yeah, you can like check the version, kind of have like a prerequisite over here. I also did add my key, my Hype key, which is the key which is used to pay for my deployments and transactions. You can like just, add, like I defined it over here, so then it doesn't prompt me when we do the live demo, but those are the only prior steps that I did. And then anything else to cover? I think we're good to go. As I mentioned, we're going to be using an ERC20 token, which is already on Base, and we want to mint like a new one, a synthetic version on another network, which is going to be Optimism. I already have like some money on those chains, so then I can pay for the costs. So that's just one thing you might want to consider when you're doing it, is that you'll need to, I actually realized I don't have that as a prerequisite on the guide, but I'll make sure to add it afterwards as well. And then now, before deploying the warp routes, there is one step prior, which I didn't mention. Now, Hyperlane is deployed on, I believe, more than 120 chains. And all those chains already have the Hyperlane interfaces, which is the mailbox contracts. So because we are deploying to a network which already has like a Hyperlane deployment there, I don't need to like connect my chain. But let's say like you're a new chain and you need to like connect your new chain to kind of make that possible. That's exactly where you need to follow the deploy to a new chain guide, which guides you to like how you can set up Hyperlane on your chain. But since like these networks already have Hyperlane, all I need to do is I need to use the already deployed mailbox. And let me show that guide. I'm just going to copy this. Perfect, getting started. So you have over here the how to connect to your chain guide. The guide I'm following is how to bridge a token with Hyperlane warp routes. So it's just kind of like a simplified version of this guide. This guide is a bit more detailed, highly suggested. I just made it easy to follow along with no description. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead. Now I'm going to do a Hyperlane warp init to initialize my warp routes. This will guide me through the what do you call, like the wizard, which allows me to choose the different settings. I want to do mainnet. So I chose mainnet, and now I need to choose the chains which I want to connect to. I'm going to choose, you can kind of use the arrows. Let's choose base. And then you can choose any chain you want. As I mentioned, these are the chains which Hyperlane is already on. And if you wanted to see what chains they are, you can go to the Hyperlane registry, and it kind of shows you already which chains are on Hyperlane. Okay, yes, this is yes. Yeah, this is correct. Yes, okay, so for the proxy admin contract, you can get this from the Hyperlane registry. I just added it here. I also have the link over here to the Hyperlane registry to kind of show you where it's from. Now for convenience, or let's quickly like add it here. Oops, sorry, I'm just gonna do that again. Base. I was just moving fast that I didn't read the prompt and I just entered. So
All good. Live demos.
I'll
Live
try to
demos. That's
go.
all right.
That was my mistake, not Murphy's Law yet. So these are correct. This is correct as well. I do want to use, I'll add the address. Let's just say no for it. Okay, so I'll use a collateral because this token is an ERC token on base already. Enter the token address. My English is failing me now. So I got this from here. Let's say yes, and then I'll just add the Optimism proxy admin address. No, and then this is going to be a synthetic token. Okay, perfect. So this gave me the configuration file. What this does is this generates like a configs.warproute deployment YAML file, and you can see over here the configurations. So if you don't like them, you can go in and edit them. But the CLI, as you see, is able to like generate the configuration file directly, so it just makes it a lot easier. Okay, so this was basically the first step, initializing the warp route. As I said, I have the details here on the registry, so you can kind of just like also see these where the registry is. You can go over to here to the Hyperlane registry. You can see the chains. Like for example, for base, you can find here the details. And yeah, this is kind of where you can find all the details and all the contracts which are on different chains. And then moving forward, we added this. We saw like the successfully created message. And then now let's deploy the warp routes. So I'm going to do a Hyperlane warp deploy. Now, as I said, because I already have my private key saved, it's not going to ask me, but let's say you didn't, it will actually ask you. I just think it's, easier if you save it. Let's just say no for now, because I don't have like an API key yet. And this gives me like our configuration. You can see over here the details, the token, collateral, synthetic, the warp routes types, the ISM, the default configuration. So then we don't have to like think about them. And then let's say yes. So what we did was we said, okay, like we want this virtuals token, which is on base, and we want to like have a route for it to also be like have a synthetic version on Optimism, on OP mainnet. So that's kind of in the first command, oops, I think there's like a small mistake. Let's just try it again. I'm not actually sure.
So what's happening is basically you're deploying a contract that represents these routes, or yeah.
Exactly. That is exactly what's happening. It's deploying the contracts which represents which makes the connection possible. So for example, okay, I'm actually not sure why exactly. Let's try again. Firm. And if it doesn't work, I'll show the UI, which makes it work. But I'm going to I just want to make sure we can have like a certain token to show. And then I choose base. I'll choose optimism here. And then yes, say yes. Let's just skip these since this is just for test. It's going to be a collateral token. And then we have over here, we can actually do like the Fey token this time, which is on base. So you can directly get these addresses. I'm just doing because we're very limited on time. And then I'm going to do a Hyperlane warp deploy. Again, it gives us collateral, the token address. Now, because I just quickly wanted to make sure it works, I chose the address of the Fey token, which is on base. And then I do a yes. And then, as you mentioned, this is deploying the contracts which are required for this deployment. So, for example, it's like deploying the Hype ERC20 token contract, which is the synthetic token, which mints the tokens themselves. So I think this time we're going to get there. And while this is loading, let me actually go ahead and show you the Superbridge playground, which kind of we want to showcase how the token works. And one more thing on the docs is that we have like a Hyperlane UI guide, like a UR template, not guide, sorry, which kind of allows you to like deploy like your own Hyperlane Warp UI template, like the Warp template UI, which kind of allows you to test your Warp routes or like just go ahead and like fork and create your own. And then there's also the Superbridge template, which I'll be showcasing. It's quite like a cool way to kind of see how it works, especially when you just make like a quick test and you're like, oh, like how does this work? You can totally do that. And this guide is quite helpful and may make it really handy for you to quickly go ahead and deploy your own Warp route UI. Well, this is loading. I can actually showcase this. I don't want to showcase this, but as you can see, this is kind of like, okay, I want to bridge from Arbitrum to Ethereum, and then you can select the token and all the details over there. So this is quite a cool way to go ahead and test your Warp route. What I will be showing is actually the Superbridge one, and I'm going to open it in this other browser. While I do that, let me quickly open that so then we can kind of test it because I have my wallet here. Okay, so okay, perfect. Our warp route is deployed. Let me show this. As you can see, our warp route contracts deployment completed. You can see the details over here, the chain details, and then where it's connected to. So it's connected like from base to optimism, the standard it uses, the token symbol, and then yeah, you can see the gas, which we paid just now for the deployment, and all the details here. It's also like saved on my registry file, so I can kind of see and access that. Now, what makes this easy is that I'm just going to copy this. This is like the YAML file. And then I'm going to go over here where I have my, let's just close this, open this. This is my Superbridge sandbox. So this is not the live one, but this is like just makes it easier for you to go ahead and test. And I want to add like a new warp route. So I just copy paste the YAML file here. I save it. Our token was from base, right? To optimism. And it was the Faye token. Perfect. I think I actually have some Faye. So we might like make a transaction. So I have like 90, let's like just say 10. Review bridge, let's continue. So now this is bridging actually like just the warp route which we deployed from base to optimism. And it's a completely new contract. It's minting a synthetic version on optimism. And so it did take like not too long. There was like a small error which we had to redo, but hopefully, as you can see, Hyperlane Warps routes makes it very easy for you to be like, I have this token on this network and I want to bridge it to like another network. The CLI is like a tool which you can use to quickly configure that and make the changes and just go ahead and deploy. And the best place is the Hyperlane docs. I'd also suggest to like join our Discord. If you have any questions, you can always hit us over there. But yeah, I think this kind of concludes our demo. I'm happy to answer any questions either you or anyone listening might have. Hopefully it was not too fast, but at least it's recorded so it can be like at 0.5 speed.
That's right. That's right.
So that's
Yeah.
from me.
No, this was excellent. And for the record, it was around 10 minutes even with troubleshooting. So that's pretty sick. Good stuff. Yeah. So question for me and crowd, if you have any questions for Eda, please post them. And there we go. We do have a question from the crowd. Dimpy asks, is it possible to deploy more, I guess, more of these bridges at the same time, or are you just limited to one at a time?
No, so warp routes you can deploy for your own cases. Like you can, there's no limitation on the warp routes. Like each is You can deploy like a warp route to connect to like any network. If you want to connect to like a network which is already on the Hyperlane registry, that makes it easier because then you don't need to connect your token, but you can go ahead with the Hyperlane warp route deployment only. But yeah, I don't believe there is.
Excellent. Good to know, and great question there. Question from my end. Are these routes just limited to token transfers, or can we also deploy these routes for, say, um, deploying your on-chain protocol to be like multi-chain, for example, if you want to do like call data between chains?
So warp routes are for token bridging, so ERC20, and I believe like you can kind of check the warp routes, which like the available warp routes, but they are only for token bridging. So I believe you can do them for ERC20 tokens or 721. So not extended to other kind of cross-chain messaging. However, you could use the Hyperlane cross-chain messaging protocol for any kind of sending message between them. So if warp routes don't fit your case, you can totally use like the mailbox interfaces to kind of communicate the message. Warp like the reason for warp routes to exist is basically token bridging is one of the most common use cases. And we
Mhm.
kind of wanted to make it easy for anyone to quickly like spin up like a bridge where they can transfer the tokens. And that's kind of where warp routes come in. But if they're not suitable for your use case and you kind of just want to use the cross-chain messaging, you can totally like look at Hyperlane's infrastructure and make your own kind of
Yeah.
implementation.
Amazing, amazing. And I guess in terms of uploading these warp routes, are they permissionless in that if I spin up a new ERC20 token and I have one of these configuration files, what's the process to actually get them on the production bridge?
Yeah, so you could like for example, when chain deployments, you could submit to the Hyperlane registry. So then we can also have that over there, so it can make it easier for anyone to kind of connect to that chain as well. For warp route deployments, I'm not exactly sure. I'm happy to like look into it and get back. But I do believe you can submit it to the registry and you can have it over there, so you can make sure that everyone uses it. Um, there is no central repository where we kind of monitor and make sure like it passes certain checks. It's more due to the nature of like open source and being permissionless, we really do allow anyone. So there could be like warp routes which have been deployed by others and they kind of use their own setup, or they're like their own relayers and agents in between, which even the team behind is not really aware of. However, if you do want to use kind of the agents which are operated by different partners, you can kind of hit us up and be like, hey, like I deployed this warp route, how can I move forward? Because then it might make it easier when you directly use partners for like validators and the agents in between. And that's kind of like the common case which we see. So you can totally like run your infrastructure as you wish. However, we do provide that kind of set to make it easier for you to go to production faster. Having like already a set of trusted partners makes it really easy to provide that like the agents which you need for the cross-chain messaging.
Right on. Awesome stuff. And I guess a last couple of questions from my end before we conclude. Is there any alpha that you can share in terms of things on the roadmap for this year? You don't have to get into great detail, but anything you can perhaps hint at, or maybe something that has you excited.
Yeah, for sure. So we do have like an ERC for the Hyperlane. Like interoperability is one of the hottest topics this year. I think like now everyone is realizing that okay, we have all these networks, but how do they talk to each other? There needs to be like some kind of standard way. I'm really excited to see that standardized, and we're working a lot for our end, like building Hyperlane for a long time, and now with the ERC, hopefully like have more standardized messaging. I think that's like what I'm most excited about. When I joined Hyperlane, interoperability was the area where I was keen to learn more on. And the more I got in, the more I realized there's like a lot to do, which is kind of exciting. But also because it's an area where you're just making standards at the moment, I definitely think there's going to be like a lot more in the standardization, kind of see how people use it. Um, and I guess like the ERC on our end to make like the way we kind of view cross-chain messaging by having like a certain interface with modular security is what I'm most excited to see.
Awesome. Lovely answer. And yeah, I'm also keen to see how people start to integrate Hyperlane into their dApps and deploy their own warp routes. And on that topic, just to circle back to the last slide you had, what's the best way for people to get in touch if they're having issues or want to ask questions? Should they reach out over X, join Discord?
Yes. So the Hyperlane docs hopefully will provide you like great guides to learn how to get started. The Hyperlane Discord, especially the developers channel, is a great place to ask any questions you have, any kind of troubleshooting. You can just kind of copy paste there. We have great people on there. Like most of the team is always online there. So the Hyperlane Discord is great. I would suggest those two places. Feel free to like ask any questions you might have, like to me or anyone on the team as well. But I don't want to speak on anyone's behalf. But I'm hoping like I do think like we're a very welcoming team. So any questions you might feel like you could definitely ask on the Discord. But if you want to like kind of connect with us on Twitter, definitely very open. But yeah, I'd suggest like the Hyperlane Discord, especially the developers channel. Pretty active, pretty nice questions come in. Hopefully you'll get answers there. And if not, you can just post questions there and we'll see how we can answer them.
Amazing, amazing. And yeah, it seems time has flown quite fast, as it always does on the show. Eda, thank you so much for taking the time and giving that amazing overview and 10-minute demo, even with technical difficulties, deploying your warp route.
I did not count the technical difficulties in.
Okay, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, this is amazing. And for folks that were watching us live, I've actually dropped a link to claim your attendance badge on BitBadges. So now, last week we debuted this last week. So every week, when you watch us live, you have an opportunity to claim an attendance badge to prove your viewership of DevNTell. And now this week, Trevor Miller has debuted a leaderboard. So as you claim these, your name will appear on a leaderboard. So you definitely want to boast about watching every single episode by the end of the year if you're watching these live. So you'll find the link to claim that in the YouTube description, as well as dropping it in the chat here. But just circling back, Eda, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All the content that Eda was showcasing, the templates and the docs, they will be in the YouTube description shortly after this session is over. But with that, I just want to wish everybody a very happy Friday, happy weekend, and we will catch you back here on another great episode of DevNTell next week. All right, cheers.
Everyone.